Welcome to the Young Filmmakers Project. I'm Haddad. We're here at the Vancouver School of Arts and Academics, where students in Mr. Burhow's classes are making movies. Every high school and most middle schools have video production programs, where students learn how to shoot and edit video, write scripts, build graphics, and do live shows. While they do all that, they're also building teamwork skills, like communication, problem solving, and more. These programs are a part of this district's Career and Technical Education Department. Our focus today is on documentaries. 3 beloved staff members here at VSAA are retiring, so students decided to make mini documentaries to send them off in style. Our first film focuses on Annie Aver.
Yeah, I'm Annie Aver, that's me. Yeah. Came here a year and a half before the school opened to help plan it. I was from the Northwest and looking to come home. I wanted to come back. I met my husband, we were living back east, and so I was looking for a place. And I found that they were going to start this school. I was a theater teacher, and I taught physical theater back there. And I also was a dancer, and I had a foot in both worlds. And so the first few years that I taught here, it was really important to everybody that you be both an academic teacher and an arts teacher, so that everything we did was integrated. So small school. Everybody really knows everybody. The multi-age things, so there's a family thing going on with older siblings, middle, where the older kids are kind of like, big brothering and big sistering the little ones, and the little ones have somebody to look up to. And like, the arts are scary. If you're going to really be a good artist, you've got to take risks, and I mean big risks. And like little ones as little kids, but man, when you're your age, it becomes a lot. There's a lot more at stake, and you won't take risks if you don't feel safe, and if you don't have people that have your back. So real relationships. At first we were very idealistic, and everything was integrated. And the people in the community would not go for that. You have to have math class. You have to have science class. And so we had our proposal was that the math and science would be integrated, and that they'd be seamless. You'd be learning the math skills and the science skills, but they'd be using them together the way they're used in the real world. But the community and the American culture just can't really even envision that. They can't see it. So they were like, nope, you have to have math, you have to have tests, you have to have all these things that every other school has. So from the beginning, our goal was to take what doesn't work in regular school, that putting everything in boxes, and try to be more organic and more holistic, where the things really integrate together. It's overwhelming. And so there's proof now that not just theater, but music, dance, not only helps kids develop in terms of problem solving and communication and discipline. There's lots of, the research is all out there. I think the only way to do it is like this. You have a school and it's successful, and then it's like you have a culture that doesn't really value it 100%, doesn't understand how it works, and doesn't support it money-wise. But then you've got a group of passionate people and students who know and understand its value, so you're always kind of trying to keep it alive. We have to infiltrate. You have to infiltrate the culture and the society, and it's not going to change because the cultural norms of America are not arts-centered. So I think by being artists, by training artists, by being visible, that's the way to combat it, is to do it. We have to infiltrate. It's a revolution. We have a list that's called I Hope. And my whole thing was, I hope that people will learn that the arts are real, that they're not extra, that they're part of being human. And I hope that kids will learn that, and parents will learn that, and the people in the community and the school district, that everybody would learn that. That was my hope. A month ago, I was over at the coast, and I taught a jazz clinic in a regular high school. And I walked in, and the feeling was so dark, because it was a typical, conventional, the kids were hoping they wouldn't get caught misbehaving. They were being forced to be in certain captive audience situations in their classes. They hadn't made choices to do things. And consequently, it felt awful. Then when we were in the band room and the musicians, we started working with the kids and their instruments, and they realized that we were there to do this together. These kids lit up and they were like, "Oh, this is so great. Can you guys come back tomorrow? Will you stay?" And I thought, the people at VSAA, don't forget what you've got. It's really easy because it's kind of beautiful here and there's a lot to complain about, just like anywhere else. And when you go out there, remember what it was for you. So be ambassadors, be artists. Don't, like I said, my hope is still the same, that everybody would value art and understand how essential it is to being human. Yeah.
I'm joined now by the filmmaker. Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Brooke Cruz. I am a sophomore here at VSAA.
So our first question is, why did you decide to make this film?
We had a prompt in documentary for our final to interview someone who has knowledge to kind of pass down to the students that we were going to showcase. And I picked Miss Aver because it was her final year, and I feel like she had intel as a new student at VSAA. Last year was my first year as a freshman. I wanted to kind of know what was the start of the school and how that process kind of shifted the school into what it is today.
So you decided to interview Miss Aver. Why do you think she is so important in the VSAA community?
She's just one of those people, like I said, she was one of the first people here at the school, and I think it was just important to see her perspective on the school of before she got here, why she was so invested in the arts. And since she was a theater teacher and she was even a dancer in her youth, I think it was kind of important to take that aspect of artist and how that's incorporated to the teachers here at VSAA. So kind of getting that adult artist kind of input was very important to students to kind of help them stay motivated with that. Being an artist and having a career can both go hand in hand.
What do you like most about filming documentary films or being in the documentary class here?
It's more of a real, you can get more personal and more real with your, who you're interviewing. I think with narrative, you can create your own story, which is more of the entertaining side. When I think finding a way to incorporate entertainment and knowledge into one thing is kind of documentary's purpose. And I think that's very important to kind of show people that you can learn and take in knowledge and be interested in a topic while also being entertained as movies do.
So the next step from documentary here at VSA is narrative. What are you most looking forward to when taking that class?
Storytelling. That is definitely one thing. When I think of movies, I think of the storytelling of creating a world. I'm very, very interested in that. But I think documentary was able to help me kind of take in information about real people and how that real story is not only interesting but can be incorporated into storytelling to make it more realistic and actually entertain people more than just some random story fictional thing. I think that aspect of the reality that documentary has can really help someone make a better and stronger story and narrative.
So what are some of your favorite things about taking video production classes here?
When I was younger, I always really struggled with what type of art form I wanted to have. I liked, writing, and I liked art, but neither of those really held. Like, writing was too bland, I couldn't really visualize it, and art was too static that I couldn't see the full story. But with video and movies, I was able to incorporate both of those aspects that I really enjoyed and loved about those art forms and just see the whole piece that I've been trying to find since I was little.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Our next film is about Deb Cushman. She runs the front desk at VSAA and is also retiring this spring. After that, a feature on Jim Jeffers, who taught film and technology here. How long have you been working at VSAA?
Since we opened in 1996, so that's 23 years.
Wow.
Deb Cushman, she was our media clerk and our librarian and all things books when we first opened.
I was in the library, worked in the library, but the library wasn't ready till October. So I worked out of a little corner area where Mrs. Huckhalter's office now is. There was a little desk back there, and I had a few books on a shelf, and that was the library until we could open it in October.
Sometimes people will talk about the secretary of a school as the cornerstone, and that is incredibly true of Deb. She is incredibly trusted by administration and the entire staff, by students. She's a keeper of knowledge. She's a protector of people. She is a guardian of the vision and mission of VSAA and lives it on a daily basis.
I love senior projects, watching senior projects. We started senior projects many, many years ago, and then the district kind of started doing senior projects as well, and now they're not doing them as much as we have, and ours have stayed pretty steady. Junior and senior projects are really, really great to be able to participate in, and it's an opportunity for me to see students in a way I don't get to see them otherwise.
Deb she's lovely. She is a writer, and so I think sometimes not everybody knows that about her, perhaps especially students. And so as a match for working at VSAA, she's incredible. She is an artist, and so her ability to work with words and appreciate them is amazing. Once upon a time in our early years, we had a walking club here, and we would report to her how much we had walked each week, and then she would compile the miles and take us on a journey and write about it. And it was incredibly creative and inspiring. She is really a lovely, amazing, smart, funny, talented human being, and a delight to know.
Oh my gosh, people. The students, the staff, the parents. I've had an opportunity to get to know so many people, and working with all the teachers, working with such a creative staff sometimes has its challenges, especially for a secretary trying to get paperwork done and paperwork out of them. But I just love working with I worked with 7 principals over the years, and 23 years of students and teachers. Seeing the kids grow up, I think that's what I'm going to miss the most.
I think I'll miss her, the humanity she brings to this environment. I love VSAA, as we all do. It's one of our strengths, the love we all bring to it. And her ability to, with poise and humor and facility to, problem solve, keep us honest and moving forward is quite a gift.
This has been the best experience of my life, practically. I've so much enjoyed my last 23 years here. I'm so glad I'm going out from the school district in retirement by being here at this school. I think I'll always be a part of this school. I went to Shumway when I was in junior high, my 7th, 8th, and 9th grade years. And it's such fun to see people coming back and saying, I used to go to this school. And so I feel that way too. When I first came, it was still Shumway to me, but it has changed and morphed into something so wonderful, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
We are forever a better place because of Deb, and she'll forever be a part of us.
Jim Jeffers. I'm currently an Instructional Technology Facilitator, or ITF, with Vancouver School District. In founding VSAA, I was one of 4 teachers that were in a program at Hudson's Bay High School. So there were 4 of us that were involved with the program that the three others, started to work with Deb Broska, who is the founder of the school. If it wasn't for Deb Broska, we wouldn't have this school. And they started to work and plan with her around an arts-centered school. At the time, I was teaching with them, but I was also on the district's, what they called at that time, technology team. So I was going around the district helping plan. It's when we built Chinook and Alki, Roosevelt, Skyview, a bunch of different schools. So I was helping plan some different schools, and I got tied into helping plan for the technology at the art school when we were doing that. And the more I started to hear about the art school and about the plan for the art school, the more I got hooked, because myself, I was a teacher, but I had also been a filmmaker and a professional photographer for a bunch of years. And I started thinking, this is the school that I want my kids to go to as well. When the school first opened, teaching moving image arts was really interesting. There were 3 of us that were assigned to moving image arts. There was myself, there was a teacher, Don Peterson, Mr. Peterson, who was a math teacher that I had taught with at Bay. He was in the Eagles Wing program, and he came over. He had no experience in moving image arts, but there was also another teacher, Brett Dodd, who had been a professional filmmaker, and he came from Spokane, I think, moved in. So the 3 of us created the program. Most of the schools have video productions where they do the announcements and things like that, but we partnered with the Northwest Film Center, which is in Portland, and we worked with them. We had a couple people that were the directors down there and everything that were very excited about what we were trying to do, that Deb Broska had connections with. And at the Northwest Film Center, students, you can take classes, they work with college students and everything else as well, but you could take narrative, you could take documentary, and you could take animation. And to all the students here at Moving Image Arts, that's pretty recognizable to them, because we said, let's mirror that and bring it to a 6th to 12th grade audience. Across the art forms, all the art forms have stayed relatively the same. Moving image arts has changed drastically, especially since the 80s. And in the 90s is when it really started to change quickly. So we were purchasing equipment that then was out of date almost the next year. Because when we opened the Moving Image Arts department, we had 6 VHS shoulder mount cameras, put in a great big VHS tape, and we had 6 editing stations. And the editing stations were basically, you took 2 VHS decks, stacked them on top of each other, you wired them together, and you'd tape using your great big shoulder mounted camera on a tripod. And if you used lighting, it was halogen lighting, so you couldn't get close to it or you'd catch on fire. And you'd go out, make your tape, you'd record people, then you'd go in and you'd have to log every amount of footage, because the VHS tapes were huge and they just rolled through. You weren't able to go, I want this clip or I want this clip. It was all linear tape footage. When I chose to take the job that I have now, the one thing that I felt really confident about, in fact, I wouldn't have taken this job, or the job that I have now, if I didn't know Andy Burhow from before. I'd known him since the 80s, and I knew that this was a place that he'd like to be, and that probably would come over here. So and he's an amazing moving image arts teacher. I do remember when this school first opened, people were like, why'd you go there? The school's gonna close in a year or 2. It's not gonna last. And I said, give it a chance, give it a chance. And by giving it a chance, this school has become kind of the shiny star of the district. When they want people to see successes, they send them to VSAA.
Nice job, guys. Our final film is a documentary also, but this one is about dinosaurs, featuring a staff member here at VSAA.
approximately 65 million years ago, there's evidence that an asteroid struck, just near Mexico, and that changed the atmosphere and the environmental conditions drastically, where large organisms didn't survive very well. The atmosphere reduced photosynthesis. There wasn't as much food. It was the last of like 5 huge extinctions throughout the history of life on Earth. So what survived were smaller dinosaurs. They were still related to dinosaurs and eventually became birds that did survive. So the whole group of birds, any bird you name, is kind of an ancestor of dinosaurs, or one group of dinosaurs, mainly the group of the theropods that were like the T-Rex. And you look at the fossils of Tyrannosaurus rex, they were a predator. They had big teeth. They weren't an herbivore. So when we talked about the types of dinosaurs, the ones that became the birds were actually the T-Rex family. Those the theropods. The sauropods, I think, were the plant eaters, more, like brontosaurus kind of things or whatever, apatosaurus. So these days when people portray dinosaurs, there's a lot of different ways that people will show. You go to a dinosaur exhibit and they'll show them all colorful, and there's no hard, fast evidence about exactly how they looked or behaved. We have to make our best guess based on looking at the bones of present day organisms and how they compare to like the dinosaurs. And if they were, like the velociraptors are a lot like a bird, and so they probably acted more and walked more bird-like, and that's kind of how they're portrayed. And we make best guesses. It's no two people, scientists would say that exactly the same way. I think it's just everything. A lot of organisms were decimated after the asteroid, and whatever was able to survive kind of caught a foothold and was able to keep going. And some of them were dinosaurs, but they were probably the smaller ones and not the large ones. But dinosaurs have been going extinct they were around for 100 million years, so they had been going extinct over ages prior to that too, just not on that big a scale. I remember going once to Dinosaur National Park in Utah, and there's this whole hillside where they uncovered this huge mass of just jumble of bones of dinosaurs. And it's because they think that what that was originally was a river that all the dead bodies, during a flood, the dinosaur bodies would kind of accumulate, and then they were covered with sediment pretty quickly in a flood. And so all this jumble of different dinosaurs together. So they could see what did exist, kind of a little bit of a glimpse into the ecology of the time, about what kind of dinosaurs lived in the same area as others. Dinosaurs were around for a long time. And, in the scale, when you look at the time frame, a big chunk of, here's life on Earth, a big chunk of it was dinosaur, the age of dinosaurs. So far, humans, we're minuscule. We've barely been around. We think we're a big deal, but dinosaurs were around a lot longer. And like I said earlier, there were a lot of dinosaurs that went extinct, and that's just regular part of the process. When you consider time on a huge scale of millions of years, things don't last, things change, conditions change, and life adapts to the new conditions. So it's only if you're one of the living things and life and the conditions change and you're not ready to change with it, that it's sad.
We're just about out of time. Remember that you can always see past episodes of the show on the district YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/VanusDTV. Just look for the Young Filmmakers playlist. Thanks again for watching the Young Filmmakers Project. Until next time, I'm Haddad.